So I was doing fine for months. There were literally nothing wrong with me. I felt like I had energy. I felt good. There were no symptoms, no urgency, no blood, no mucus. So I thought everything was going fine. Then all of a sudden, I started feeling a little bit fatigued. I thought, why do I feel a bit fatigued? I'm eating good food. I'm, getting enough sleep, stuff like that. So I went to the doctors, and obviously they'd like to do some blood tests and some stool samples. So I did blood tests, and they come back as me being vitamin D deficient and folic acid deficient. So that was a bit weird. I thought, well, I'm eating food that's high in these nutrients. Why is this happening? And then when my stool sample came back, it actually said that my calprotectins were 1000, which is ridiculously high. So they should be between probably about 100 and 150. So the doctor said to me, this is ridiculous. How are they so high if you're showing no symptoms? Anyone with 1000 should be thinking, you know what, you should be having urgency, you should be having blood, you should be having mucus. But for some reason I was non-symptomatic. So this just showed me that there must have been something underlying to cause all of this inflammation. Because why would it be so high when everything else was going so great? So that led me down a path of thinking, okay, so what things could cause inflammation like under the surface, which you don't necessarily like figure out straight away? It's only like, it's a bit like a volcano erupting. We don't really know exactly when it's going to do it. It gurgles underneath the ground, then all of a sudden it erupts. So this flare obviously made me completely confused because this had never happened before. I personally thought the only time you have a flare is if you have blood, urgencies, you are in pain, all these things. But obviously this went against the norm. So for me it was very, very strange. So what was it that was underlying, that was causing immune responses, that was causing inflammation, that was causing all of these issues without me knowing? And that's what I'm going to cover in this video, all the things you can do to stop the silent inflammation, so then hopefully it stops the flares. The first thing you can do is completely remove all things that are going to cause inflammation. So generally most people eat a diet that's high in fiber, loads of plants, loads of processed sugars, all these different things that will cause irritation and that will gradually build up and build up and build up to end up causing a flare. So what we want to do is remove all things that are going to cause these nasty responses. So that's obviously all your processed sugar crap that you're eating, all the plants, all the fiber, all these things can irritate your bowels. So then you might be thinking, what is it that I can eat? Well, there's something that is far more nutrient dense than most foods on the planet, and it tastes absolutely amazing, and that is meat. Meat is one of the best foods you can eat, hands down. Even if you're not flaring, it is one of the most nutrient dense foods, and it doesn't give you the carb crashes, it doesn't give you the irritation, it just makes you feel amazing because you've got all the saturated fats. So why wouldn't you have an animal-based diet? So the first thing you can do is try to remove everything out of your diet that could cause inflammation. Now that's not saying that you need to associate them foods as being bad. And I think that leads me nicely onto the second thing you need to do, which is make sure you are not having that mental association with things being good and things being bad. The reason we remove the foods that could irritate is because we know from experience that these foods can trigger flares. They can cause symptoms, they can irritate your bowels. It's not the fact that these foods are bad, it's the fact that these foods can cause something that we don't want. So why have them in our diet? So having that mental capacity to realize that these foods necessarily aren't bad. Now don't get me wrong, fully sugared processed shit, what is the point for it? Because it doesn't actually do anything except for the taste buds, because it's just pure crap. But to have that distinguishing between good and bad is not going to help you out later on. So say if you ever did want to have, like you went out with your friends and your family and decided to have a meal, if you associate that as being really bad, then that could end up causing a trigger, which is our second point. When we have triggers or when we have emotions attached to certain things, they can also cause flares. So when it comes to the emotional side of things, How many times have you ended up going into a situation where you're either going to be confronted, you get anxious, or you're going to get angry, or anything like that, and all of a sudden, boom, you rush into the toilet? So having the association of finding out what these triggers are, finding out what these causes are, finding out what emotions trigger sort of like urgency, and you gotta kind of go back to why you're having these like triggers, why you're having this sudden urgency to go to the toilet. So it doesn't matter how much you remove these other foods. If you have a bad association with any food, and if you've been brainwashed to thinking that meat is bad for you, then every time you eat meat, that subconscious thing will be like, you shouldn't be eating this, you shouldn't be eating this is going to be bad for you, this isn't good, this is crap, this is not good, this is going to cause you to have this and that other. So taking a few steps back and realizing the talk that we say to ourselves, and realizing that most of the triggers and most of the symptoms that we have are from our own subconscious mind telling us what's good and what's bad. And then the third tip is about creating just an environment where you feel good. Now this may seem a bit wishy-washy, but if you're in a constant stress, if you're in a constant environment where it's toxic, if you're in an environment where things just always seem to go against you, then you'll always have that horrible mindset, and you'll always have that horrible feeling that things are never going to go right for you. Things are never going to be what you want them to be. So you'll be constantly negatively thinking, well, my life's not good. My life is shit. I'm constantly having flare-ups. I'm constantly living a life that someone else wants me to live. I'm constantly having to go to work that I hate. All these environments and all these toxic things that are going on in your body are also going to cause inflammation inside your system. So it's about creating an environment and creating a life that you want to live and that you enjoy living, because if you're not, then obviously it is going to cause a situation inside your system where it's like, I don't like my situation, I don't like me, I don't like these people, but I've got to put up with them, and I've got to do this and I've got to do that, which is going to constantly cause you stress and inflammation inside your body, which, however much people say this doesn't affect things, it honestly does. So having these 3 little tips to help you with ulcerative colitis flares is the starting point to having a long-term relationship with yourself to heal, get in remission, and never have a flare-up again. Now, I'll go into more detail about things like this inside my protocol. There's a top link in the description. It's a 90-day protocol which goes into all details about how to find these triggers, how to speak to medical professionals about medication, how to obviously deal with like certain things that's going on in your life, like stress, everything else. Then there's also how to do the, I call it prehistoric living, where you're getting sunlight, you're getting good amount of sleeps, you are only eating like nutrient-dense meats while you're healing, and really getting into why you actually should be living a better life towards actually being in nature and doing things like that, because it is the way to heal. Now, if you want to do that, is the top link in the description. Now, put in the comments below if you feel like there is environments that have caused you to have a flare, or if there's certain things that you associated with being bad or being good, and let me know in the comments below. And if you like the content, then please like and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon.